I had hidden in my underpants.
Really?
And so they came checking, they checked everybody, anybody going to report to the police, army or other services, please get down. We have work for you. They was checking. So we said, no, we are teachers, we are getting back home. And luckily I came back to Colombo, and then I was able to go back and report to, I had to report to a Sinha regiment where an operation called La Ronde, where we were looking after the bridges and the roads of Colombo.
That is as a volunteer?
No, that time I was mobilized.
I
was mobilized at that time. I was mobilized, and a lot of volunteer officers were mobilized for these staff duties, and we were in Sinha Regiment camp, and we were looking at that. While I was there, I had another incident which I must tell you, because that was something which I really shocked me. One day when I was in the mess, an officer from the army headquarters came to the mess and called me and asked me to sit down, and he asked me whether I was in Anuradhapura during the past few months. I said yes, I was there. Then he asked me several other questions pertaining to my identity and all that. Then at that time, during the insurgency, we were given revolvers. Then he said, you are required to report to the army headquarters, but before going that, if you don't mind, please hand over your revolver to me. Then I had to hand over the revolver because he was a senior officer. I was taken to army headquarters. There I can remember one of my good officers, Brigadier A.M.U. Seneviratna. He was there in the room, and he started questioning me. And he was questioning me. While questioning me, he brought a Sam Brown belt which we used to wear those days. And he said, do you identify this Sam Brown belt? Then I looked to find, yes, this is my belt. Then it struck me. I had lent this Sam Brown belt to a sergeant major at Medavachya Vidyalaya when they had their prize giving, and the guard of honor was given to late Mr. Maitripada Senanayaka, who was a minister at that time, who visited Medavachya. So I had lent this Sam Brown belt to this cadet. You know where this brown belt was found?
Yeah, it's very interesting.
It was found in the jungles, worn by a terrorist, insurgent.
Right.
He was caught with that. Then he was brought, and this was brought to, because my name was there, Lieutenant RMTN Mendes. And they found that I am now working, then they suspected, probably they had a fear that I may be involved with terrorism, and they questioned me. Then once it was, of course, my CO, that time was our principal Ananda College, Colonel G.W. Rajapaksa.
Great.
He came into the scene and he said, I vouch that this gentleman is a very good officer and he has nothing to do with it. This is what he says is very true, and that ended up.
1971, that was the reign of terror in Sri Lanka. A very unfortunate incident where this country was ruined by these infamous people who got involved in this insurgency. Nelson, I think now we must get back to your interesting topic, especially as army instructor officer in the army, that you held a top post, and somewhat you must be having number of top officers who went through you. Can you name them, some of them?
Yes, now I was there from 1972 to 75. 3 years I was stationed in the Army Training Center, and I was the officer instructor for officer cadets at that time. And at that time, the officer cadets who came in had a deficiency in the English language. And previously, they used to get volunteer teachers from Bandarawala, schools like St. Joseph's and St. Thomas's, to teach these officer cadets English. But they didn't trust, during the insurgency, they didn't trust any civilians coming in. They wanted the uniformed person. So I was picked up, and I had to do this job of teaching them English and
Current affairs.
world current affairs. So those are the two things, and I had to train them for presentations and things like that. And during that time, I went through a lot of young, very good, officers, young, very good officers from all over the country, from Colombo, Kandy, Matra, Gaul, all the best of schools. The best of cadets used to come there. And of them, I remember several. And those who went very far in the army, for that matter, cadet, at that time he was cadet Gotabaya Rajapaksa. Then there were cadet Parami Kulatunga, cadet Jayantha Ranavira, so many of them like that. But these people who came into limelight later as brigadier and major generals, they were promoted major generals. Now I especially remember he retired as Colonel Gotabaya Rajapaksa, who was a very, very keen student. You see, he used to follow the classes, and his work was very neat, and he impressed me as a very genuine type of cadet who wanted to do his job properly. And he got through the work he did smartly. And Parami Kulatunga was same, and all the others, you see. And there was a stage when some of the senior commanders wanted these officer cadets to be demoted. They were not to be given their commissions because their knowledge of English was lacking much. But I must tell you, Appa, within 2 years, their training course, I was able to help them, all of them, to get through, and not a single one was rejected.
I'm very happy, Nelson, that you mentioned about Gotabaya Rajapaksa. He is now the present Defense Secretary, who had done so much in annihilating these terrorism activities in Sri Lanka. We can be proud of him, and I'm very grateful to you because you have taught him real lessons, and he became a perfectionist in the army. So that training must have really helped you. Now we may switch on to another sector. From there, I noticed that you are such a versatile character. You are joining the mercantile sector. What made you to join the mercantile sector?
Yes, now after my stint in the army, I had to come back to Nalanda, because that's the time I got married, and then I had to have a family. Then I came back to Colombo and joined Nalanda again, and then that's the time I think these young cricketers, the latest young recruits to the Sri Lanka cricket like us, Roshan and Asanka, came into the scene. That batch of cricketers came during my second spell. Then after that, in by 1979, there was an offer for me from the mercantile sector. And I'll tell you the truth, Appa, at that time, government servants, as we all know, were not getting enough of money to run a family
as teachers.
as teachers.
Even I have that experience because I left